Welcome to today's episode of I'm Fine But. I am joined by Lee. Lee, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, can you tell our listeners who you are and what you do?
My name is Lee, and I am a regional franchisor for Wow World Group. And I look after and support a group of fabulous women who run their own businesses. And I also run my own mini professors business too.
Super exciting.
I love it.
So, take me back to the beginning. What did you do before you had children, before you started all this? What was your profession?
So I was a professional traveller for many years.
A professional traveller.
Professional
Love it.
traveller. And then I think I was kind of late 20s and I thought, well, I need to actually get a profession. And then I did a few jobs and I ended up working in the world of management training.
Okay.
So I was in the corporate world,
Yeah.
worked for Cineworld, and then I worked for home retail.
So then you had your first child.
Yeah.
What happened? What changed?
Everything changes, doesn't it?
Everything.
Everything changes. I think my job was field-based, so I was always on the road, which I didn't mind at all. Working long hours, here, there, everywhere. And then you have a child and you think, I don't want to be doing that. I don't want to be on the road all the time. I want to be at home with my family. And I want to build something that fits around a family.
Yeah.
I knew I was at a stage in my life. I mean, I was an older mother. So I was late 30s when I started my family. And yeah, I wanted something that fitted around my family.
Yeah. So much changes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You as a whole person. Everything that you thought you wanted just evolves into something new.
Yeah.
So, did you just start looking at anything? Tell me about the process of this journey that you've been on.
My dad had always had his own businesses, so I knew that I wanted my own business, but I'd never come up with the idea.
Yeah.
And I wasn't looking. I wasn't looking to run my own business at that moment. I think, like many people, I went to a class. I went to baby sensory. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the class leader, who actually ended up being the founder, marvelous Dr. Lynn Day. And I think I was in, like, we call it the EPA area, sitting and talking to some mothers that I'd met. And then I overheard a conversation about being in China. It was like, oh, it's what is bigger than my little class. And I think I came home and just thought, you know what, it ticked all my boxes.
Okay.
So the program ticked my box. I could see myself doing it. I knew I could do it.
Yeah.
I found my calling.
Yeah.
So I went home and I think I said to my husband, yeah, I know what I want to do. And it happened quite quickly, really, from there.
So you built successful classes quite quickly.
Yeah, very quickly. I don't think, because I'd always seen successful classes. I knew me, I knew my ability.
Yeah.
So with kind of babe in arms, Molly was, I think she was about 9 months. I went and did my training, launched my classes. I remember the caretaker on the first day saying, I think I was charging £5.50 a class at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, it will never work, he said. And I absolutely had no doubt that I could make it work. So I think I started with 60 new mums with their babies. I had to keep my other job. My husband told me I had to keep my other job until it kind of, was less risky.
Yeah. And we see so many women that do that because it's such a huge jump from employment to self-employed that sometimes you do need that transition period. And it's a bit of then a balancing act because you need the transition period to feel secure in it, but you also need the time to put into your business as well.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a catch-22, isn't it? Sometimes you're like, but if you go all in, you'll get there quicker, but it's also a scary step as well.
Yeah. I don't think it was for me. It definitely was my husband's.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, it was never a big enough risk. The financial, the money you're putting in at the beginning, worst case scenario, it doesn't work out. It didn't feel that big a risk not to take the risk.
Okay, yes.
And I just knew that I could do it. not the business side. I'd never had a business. I knew
Yeah, yeah,
nothing about business, but actually running classes. And I think when you, especially then, when I went into it, I was quite naive to so many things, but I
yeah,
just trusted myself, I think. So,
yeah. And we
but it,
do get people that say when they come on, they're like, I didn't realize the other stuff that goes with it. It's not just teaching the classes. That's about 20% of what you need to do. 80% is everything else.
yeah, back of house, isn't it? The
Yeah.
front of the house is the doing, the do, but the back of the house, if you're not doing the back of the house, then the doing, the doing
I
and
love that
happen. Yeah.
phrase, the doing the do. You just gotta do the do.
It's got to do the do, yeah. But it wasn't long. I think within weeks, um, I think I had, well, I added another class and I had 4 classes. And at that point,
Amazing.
and like you say, you can't, if you're gonna start a business, you need to believe that you can do it,
Yeah,
and it does need time, and you need to
yeah.
give it that time. So yeah, it's
And it's that whole thing of whether you were saying about the risk and the reward for that and do you not do it and then stay safe and regret not doing it? Or do you do it with the open eyes of, okay, well, I could lose this investment, but then at least I've gone for it because I feel like I'm passionate about
yeah,
it. And it's just weighing that up, isn't it? For every single person individually, is it worth that risk for them?
yeah. That's everything in life, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't, you shouldn't regret things, but I felt that, you know, there was nothing that I could just go for it.
Yeah. Would
I
you
just
rather
felt,
regret doing it or rather regret not doing it?
yeah. Well, you never know, would you? You would never
No.
know. So why not go for it?
But then
Yeah.
maybe that's personality as well.
Yeah, definitely. But I think if you are going into business, you need to have a bit of that,
Yeah.
you know, uh, personality.
Yeah. A bit of a gutsy edge,
Yeah, it's
don't you?
not for everyone.
No.
No.
We've talked about that quite a lot, that it isn't for everybody. And tell me a little bit more about that because you do say that quite a lot, don't you? You say that running a business is not for everybody. What do you really mean by that?
You have to be someone that is adaptable, um, goes with the flow, accepts change because, you know, since I started running a business 15 years ago in the children's activity sector, it's hugely different, you know. So you have to be able to go with the flow. You have to be able to accept change. We all have levels of what's acceptable to us, but eventually you need to go with the flow. Times changed. Gosh, there wasn't even Facebook. Well, there was Facebook, but you definitely didn't use it for marketing now. And now, we've talked about this. It's not my natural space because, it's so different. It's so different now, and it continues to be different. AI and all the things that we can use, the systems we can use.
And it's being open to it as well. The
Yeah,
businesses that are staying up and continuing to grow are the ones that are open to change and that go, okay, yes, this marketing worked 10 years ago, not necessarily going to work now. We've got
yeah,
to move and adapt. And where are our clients? Where's our audience going to be at and how we're going to reach them?
yeah,
So then you've gone on to the role of becoming a franchisor for your area.
yes.
Talk to me about that.
So again, I think that just kind of naturally happened at the beginning. It wasn't in the plan. My plan was that I was going to run my own local business, which wasn't local. I kind of had to do travel an hour to my area. And then quite quickly, and again, that's being open to opportunities, isn't it?
Yeah.
So quite quickly, I took on an assistant who then became my class leader, one of my first classes, customers, and then another customer was interested in the program, became my first franchisee.
Okay.
So it just kind of naturally happened. I was in this situation. So, and again, that role is very, very different. Franchisees, it's their own business.
Yeah.
So, my role is not to be telling them what to do. It's a brand.
Yeah.
So there are obviously, guidelines. But that was quite difficult to learn as well. The relationship is different to an being the employer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just grew. At one point I had 13 franchisees that we were, working together
Yeah.
and growing together.
Yeah. And how did you feel at that point?
I think at that point, because I can remember a point where I had 13 franchisees and running Baby Sensory, and then already started running Midi Professors, which is another one of the programs. Vaguely remember there was a lot of rocking and dribbling in a corner,
Yeah.
trying to juggle it all. And then I had to adapt actually at that point. I was like, right, okay, so I need to stop me physically running classes.
Yes.
I need to focus on my team. Again, I think you have to make decisions all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it changed again.
Yeah. And stepping back from teaching is an important part of it because you see things from a different perspective. You just see a different way of it, don't you? Sometimes stepping back gives you more insight into actually what needs to go in to
Yeah.
keep it as successful. So then what happened? Was this when COVID hit?
Oh my gosh, another change. It's being able to adapt, isn't it? And then
Yeah.
COVID hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think for so many businesses, it was finding a way to survive. But of course, you didn't know how long you had to
Yeah.
survive for. So that was massive.
Survival of the fittest, wasn't it,
Yeah,
in COVID?
yeah. And again, I think within that time, my team and the broader team, you had some that found it so difficult, and then you had some that wanted to find a way of, making it through it, and it was a combination of all sorts of personalities.
Yeah.
People coming up with phenomenal initiatives, and some were really struggling,
Yeah.
with it. But we did come through it.
Yeah.
Our programs were all online, I think, within about sort of 4 or 5
Yeah.
weeks. Um, Completely different.
Yeah.
You're running those classes at home. One of my franchisees was in a kind of a small flat, was running it from a bedroom. The whole family,
Yeah.
they had to adapt. Some of my team had never been on camera, would never have done a video. They're experts now, they've come through. So yeah, that was, in so many ways, that was difficult times, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely. So, and some people didn't come through.
Yeah.
Some people, that was the end of their journey. And our relationships within my team, was, everything before then had been rosy tinted, and, I was just there to guide and support and, work together, we can do this. And that was probably the first time I'd ever had to deal with any kind of conflict.
Yeah.
So, which was not my happy place. So that I struggled through
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
definitely. But yeah, we did come through it, and it's taken time to build those relationships, again. So again, that's part of business, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah.
You're not employed. People have had parents that have died or illnesses. We've had all sorts of things going on within.
Yeah.
They've got a support network,
Yeah.
but they're not employed.
Yeah.
It's their businesses. They needed to find a way to come through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you talk a lot about resilience. So the resilience that it has to run a business. And I know for you, you had a huge life event that happened, which, was catastrophic in so many different ways. How did you find that you could then build your resilience back up after, and anybody that's listening, that if they've had something that's happened to them or a family event or, so many different things happen to so many different people, how you can then keep your business running through that because it's huge and you almost don't show that side, do you?
No. Well, when I was going through what I was going through, I needed to keep it separate, and I needed the business to keep going. I mean, I was lucky. I've got, a good supportive family. So I got people in place so that the business continued doing. My team, you know, it continued,
Yeah.
whereas I was able to sort my bit
Yeah, yeah.
out. I don't think there was ever you can't if you're in business, people are relying on you.
Yeah.
You can't just stop. You know, and actually, even if for any reason you had to stop, you know, if you're running classes, you know, you've got customers, and for whatever reason you have to stop them. I said, there has to be a plan in place, doesn't it?
Yep.
In when you're coming back.
Yep.
Um, so I don't think I ever, I don't think I ever, yeah, I could never, the business was not going to stop.
Yeah.
It was going to continue,
And
and
do
it
you
didn't.
feel like that gave you a little bit of something else to focus on?
The business,
Yeah.
yeah, the business was the easy side. That was the
Okay.
joyous side. That was
Okay.
joy.
Yeah.
Yes. Um, but putting things into place, again, it's just we don't know what's around the corner.
No.
You know, things come at us very unexpected in life, but maybe that's what makes life exciting as well,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
And I think that's, from our conversations that we can kind of tootle along, can't we, at the
Mm,
pace that we're on, and we never know what's around the corner. We
mm,
never know that, these things that happen to other people can completely happen to
mm,
us at any point. And I think maybe that's a good thing that we don't think that, because we wouldn't do anything, would we? Um, but what about if we've got people that are listening that are thinking, well, I'm running a business, and if something huge happened to me, the business is so reliant on them. Do you think it's a mindset resilience thing to be able to keep a business running and deal with personal stuff at the same time? Because I know for a lot of people, the boundaries are very blurred.
mm. I don't think there's any option, is there? Well, there is an option. You could just stop.
Yeah,
Then, of course, that is an option. That is an
yeah,
option just to stop. There is an option to sell. You
yeah,
know, there is, or there is hope that one day you will get through whatever it might be, and actually you still want your business at the end of it, so you put
yeah,
things in place. So there's always options. I think you have to be open to all those options, and even if at whatever that moment you're thinking, you know, this is the end of it, you know, like I can't deal with, you know, I can't deal with, especially if you're leading a class and you have to go in and, you know, be that front. Your customers don't want to see that person at the front being miserable.
no,
You know, they want to know that person is real,
yes,
but that's they're not
yeah.
paying.
They're not paying for your
Yeah,
burden, are they?
no. So
I love the fact that you've just said there's options, because I think so many times people do feel backed into corners, or that even if you do have to stop, it's okay. I'm going to stop for this period of time, and I'm fully aware that I have to almost restart and get things back going again, but that's still an option.
yeah, going back many many years. So I started my baby sensory classes, and I knew I wanted another baby.
Yeah,
So I put everything into place. I found class leaders. I was going to have my maternity, bish bash bosh, amazing. My sister was going to do my admin.
yeah.
I was going to have a bit of maternity. Things don't work out like
No.
that. So one class leader rang me. I'm just about to go off. I'm still running classes out here. Oh, I'm pregnant too.
Oh, congratulations.
So then we had to find maternity cover. My other class leader rang me. Oh, my husband's got a job in Scotland.
Oh,
So actually, at that point, decisions had to be made, and then I ended up franchising off my, you know, my original business and closing another one of the businesses
yeah,
for temporarily, you know, and actually it was going to be 6 months. I was going to come back with a baby in arms and have someone in the background putting him to sleep. That didn't happen, but I came back,
yeah,
I think 9 months later, and off I went again.
yeah,
You know, that happens a lot in our industry. A lot of us are mums.
yeah.
Maybe we've had our first.
We're in the worst
Mm,
industry for getting broody as well. I tend to say this to women. I'm like, are you having any more children? Because you will get broody
yeah,
being around babies all the time.
yeah,
If you've got that little seed of doubt. But yeah, it depends what industry you're in, doesn't it? I think it's
yeah,
just a hazard of us being around babies.
yeah. But you can still work around it. You can still, Gosh, I have seen many class leaders literally, but then you need to get an assistant to help you to set up
Yeah,
and all those things.
yeah.
Decisions, decisions, decisions. Continually adapting and finding new ways.
So if you're looking now for new franchisees, because
Yeah.
your business model, you don't just have baby sensory, you've got the mini professors, you've got all different
Yeah.
angles to it. So depending on what someone's interested in, what qualities are you looking for?
I don't think it matters what the program is.
Yeah.
You have to be real. I think, in the world of social media, it's about visibility. And actually, in the world of AI, people are looking for connections. They're looking for, someone that is real. And I think from, you know, I've had I've got franchisees that are still with me after 15 years. I've had many that have come and they've gone. And I think that the magic, what makes somebody work and what is if they are real people, at the front of the class, they're engaging, they are interested, they want to listen and understand they want to be, and they're excited. That if in your industry, in any class you go to, that person at the front. So that's what I'm looking for in terms of them running the classes, in terms of the back of house stuff. They need to It's a business. They need to understand that they're not employed. They need to really um, understand their demographics, understand the community. They need to be not afraid to get involved in the community. Marketing, 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 marketing. And if they're not the expert in marketing, be open to get somebody in to do the marketing for them.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of um, in our industry, or sole traders, we try and do it all. We try and do it all.
If
However,
you are listening on audio, I just got a point of me then for doing it all.
we try and do it all, and we can't do it all. We are a business. I used to joke that, I had a hobby job, because I think maybe as well, because being a mum, we're trying to do it all. We're trying to fit it around things. I think sometimes it can be seen as a hobby job.
Ah, do you know what? And I hate the word with a passion.
Yeah.
Mum, mum, entrepreneur. Fuck off. They
It's a
put, but they're
business.
calling you a mum before an entrepreneur, and that's why. Oh, it just really pisses me off, and it's almost this lesser status that men are entrepreneurs. And no, I'm not. No, obviously, not all men will say that, but
Yeah.
men are entrepreneurs, women are entrepreneurs, a female entrepreneur, and then if you are a mum, you're a momtrepreneur. And I know,
Yeah.
like, just because I've
However,
got children doesn't mean that you don't need to give me that label first.
no, but I think sometimes we do that to ourselves as well.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think we do. Not all of us, of course. We don't give ourselves that label. We're doing everything. We're
So the
fit,
mental load.
yeah, and we're fitting the business around all the other
And
things.
if somebody came up to you and called you a momtrepreneur, it's so hard to say. Momtrepreneur. If somebody called you that, how would you feel about that?
I probably wouldn't think that too much about it.
Okay.
That word. Um, yeah, I probably wouldn't think that much about it
I feel like
until now.
I just feel like it's
Until
loaded.
now.
It's so
Yeah,
loaded with the fact that you are a mum and you're doing this little business around having children. And it's like, well, no, actually, some of us are making more money than people doing full-time
yeah.
jobs. And I love that, but don't label me in this box of being a mum first. Yes, of course, my children are always going to come first, but that's not part of my business.
No. However, being able to be a mum and have a hugely successful business it could be flipped the other way. It's and actually that is huge. It's huge. Being able to start and do a business and be a successful business and be able to do all
Yay.
that. My family and my husband are amazing. But sometimes I do think that if my husband had his own business, I would be in the background doing this, and then I would be helping him. The other way around, we put it on ourselves sometimes
We
as
do, yeah,
well.
yeah, the
Yeah,
expectations.
because that's my job. My job is to do all that
But that's
as
the
well.
expectations that you're putting that
Yeah,
it's your
yeah,
job,
yeah. It is my expectations, isn't
and
it? Yeah,
the expectations of society as well, which hopefully we're getting into some shift
yeah,
that's slowly happening, not everywhere. But yeah, and you are right. Maybe you can flip it round and say, well, it's a positive thing that, we are showing that we can raise children and build these powerful businesses. But I just don't
yeah,
like it. I
yeah.
just don't like it. There needs to be a new, just a new way to frame it. And I know, you was talking about the qualities of what you look for in a franchisee. What do you not look for? Because I know for me, I say no to more people than I say yes to. So for you personally, if someone's coming and they're like, I want to be part of the WOW group, I want to be in your team, Lee, you've built this successful business, I want to do the same. What qualities would turn you off somebody?
Now, I do a lot of my stuff through gut and feeling. That's how I survive this world. Um, so it's a bit, that sounds a bit fluffy, but I mean, I've had many, many conversations, and I know which ones will go through and which ones
Yeah,
succeed. I think at the beginning of my journey, I said yes to people that I shouldn't have, for them and for me,
yeah.
which I don't do that anymore.
But that's a learning curve as well. I
Oh,
think,
total.
I've done that.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And employees as
Yeah,
well. Like, "Oh, yes, please come work for me." Yeah, it's harder work. So,
yeah,
we have to connect. I mean, my team are very varied in personality, so it's not that they are, just a version of me,
yeah,
because every version works, but we do need to connect because we have to work together.
yeah,
And I go back to that being real, and just having their eyes open. You
yeah,
know, it's difficult in those early conversations whether somebody is open to and adapt to change, because until that happens, how do you even know?
yeah,
Because actually, sometimes we have a very easy life where we don't have to deal with much change, and then something happens, then we find out how resilient we are.
yeah,
So there's a lot of gut feeling, but it's also a part of it. I don't know the percentage, but a high percentage of women, my team, have come through not having ever run a business. But that's great, because part of a that's the benefit of franchises. Me, the wider audience, we are there to guide and support and give them all those tools. Um, but they've still got to have their eyes wide open to the fact and understand the fact that this is their responsibility. They have the autonomy
yeah,
to make it work or not make it work. So what am I looking for? Somebody just understands. I know from when I'm speaking to someone how vague their answers are.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
How general they scoot round things are.
yeah,
And has your gut ever been wrong? Because mine has.
my gut's never been wrong, but I've not listened to my gut sometimes,
Okay.
because actually, there's also in my role, who am I to say? If you've got
Yeah,
somebody that is telling me they absolutely are going to be this, this, and this, you know, I have been in that situation where I think, well, who am I? Who am I
yeah.
to say? How do I know? I don't know. I don't know them. And I am right. I usually am
Okay.
right.
Maybe I need some of your gut then. Got some Yakult in
You,
there.
you know you need me in your life.
And because I think the thing that I find really difficult as well is their passion for it and their, "Yes, I'm gonna do this. Yes, the drive for it." And you have that almost niggling of, "But they could be great, but they could not be great as well." And how have you taken that personally when either way, when they've done amazing, it feels brilliant, but if they haven't, how do you manage that as a person?
It's a hard role. This role is hard. I find it. I would like to be less.
We didn't start having this role, did we?
No.
You don't start out with it.
No, you do take, I mean, I haven't got better at not taking all those feelings, taking all that, if they are struggling, I feel it.
Yeah.
And I can't.
You shoulder a lot, don't you?
Yeah.
You take
And
a lot of guilt on.
yeah,
But again, that's our expectations on ourselves.
yeah. And that's, I think when you start these conversations, I've got better at, setting expectations really. But yeah, I do find it hard.
Yeah.
I love it, when I can celebrate successes with them, or when it's not going well, but we put something in place and it goes, and it's followed.
Yeah.
And, it's quite simple that, if it was a recipe for a cake, it's quite, there's, cakes change. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
But, if you follow a recipe in our industry, it's quite simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got to get the people in and you've got to keep the
Yeah.
people. It's either that you're not getting them in or you're doing something wrong here to
Yes.
not
Yeah.
keep them.
Yeah.
And it's continual.
This is why knowing your numbers and your data is so important.
Yeah.
And that's all the skills that come with being part of a franchise network as
Mm.
well, that you can go to somebody. I've talked about numerous times. I started my first business when I was 17 and I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea, but actually to have somebody to go, but what does this mean? Or why do I need to know my numbers? Why do I need to know where my leads are coming from? Why do I need to quantify that? And just to somebody for them to explain that to you so you can use it as a tool to enhance your business is so valuable.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're sometimes fumbling around. I know I did a lot of fumbling,
Yeah.
especially when I was younger. I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah. But I've had to learn that as well. So, Helen, that's been with me since day dot, you know, we fumbled together, so I've learned along the way. Yeah.
From
So things
fumbling to striding.
fumbling to striding. Yes.
That's what you can have on all your. We started with a fumble, now we stride across.
Yeah.
So on the show, every week, we ask the guest, what one bit of advice could you give our listeners if they're either thinking of starting a business or they're in a business? From somebody who is in there doing it, what is the one golden bit of advice you wish somebody had told you before you started?
I can't think of anything I'd wished I'd been told. Business strategy and marketing strategy. Strategy is important. This is stuff that I've learnt later on.
Fumble.
Yeah, lots of fumbling, blissfully unaware, blissfully fumbling. But that's just me and my personality, probably. But actually, I came from a world of goals and objectives and planning. So actually, it wasn't that I was unaware of it. I just didn't do a lot of it. But to have that goal, to have that exit strategy,
Yep.
why not? And then work backwards. Oh,
Yep.
my husband will be very happy listening to me now. He's all about the goals and objectives. But that's really important, is having a plan and following it. And this is stuff that I'm learning later on in business. So anyone coming into business within my team, that will start from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But in terms of somebody that's thinking about starting a business, whatever that business is, just do it. Just go for it. And I think the difference is, if you have an idea, your own passion, you want to start your own business, amazing. Go for it. It's fabulous. If you don't want to be employed, but you don't have this idea or you don't want to be on your own, you don't know how, franchise is just that middle ground, isn't it? You've got everything on a plate for you, whether it's the lessons, whether it's the policies, whether it's the risk assessments, whether it's just the support and guidance. Wherever you are, whatever you're going to do, just go for it. What's the worst that can happen? What is the worst that can happen? And hopefully The worst that can happen is you have a business and you can sell it on.
Yeah.
You have an asset.
Or you walk away
Or you
from it.
walk away.
Yeah.
No, if it's not giving you joy and it's not you're all about aligning with your value, you just walk away. But it's
Yeah.
choice, isn't it? It's choice. You choose to do this. You put "I choose" in front of everything you're doing. If you're in a job you don't like, but you're choosing to be there, you it gives you, um
Gives you power over the
yeah,
decision.
yeah. So just go for it.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, tell our listeners, Lee, if they want to find you, where can they find you?
Wow Thames Valley West is my Instagram. Baby Sensory and Toddler Sense Wow Thames Valley West is my Facebook.
Fabulous. Well, thank you for joining me today. We'll put all the links in the show notes so people can come and connect with you.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
You've just listened to I'm Fine But. If you're unsure about business or what really matters to you right now, why not take our free core values course? It's linked in the show notes and it's a brilliant place to begin. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and you can follow us online at all your favourite social media platforms at Baby Beats UK. Until next time, I'm Rose and I'm fine. But honestly, we're all just figuring it out.